Hey guys, Ozzy here and welcome back to another YouTube video. Today I'm going to be giving a matchup for every single Injustice character and explaining the connections. So if you're going to enjoy this video, then make sure to like, subscribe, and the few rules I need to set in place first is that there's no same series matchups here. There's also no Injustice character versus Injustice character, so for example, I can't have Killer Frost versus Sub-Zero. I'll only be taking characters from the two main games for Injustice, but also the DLCs as well, hence why characters like Sub-Zero will be in this video as well. And yeah, let's just get on with number one, AQUAMAN versus NAMOR. They're both kings of Atlantis and masters of the seas, with the royal offspring human father. You know, it generally vibes. They fight Nazis. You know, it vibes. Number two, Ares versus Ares. Guess the connections for this one. Number three, BANE versus HANMA from Grappler Baki. There are two people born from awful circumstances who go through living hells of pursuits of a goal. BANE being Batman and Jack being Yujiro. They both get strong enough to push their bodies, relying on super-enhancing drugs to make them stronger. Number four, BATGIRL versus Kim Possible. They're two redhead female vigilantes. There's probably more to it, but just generally vibes. Batman versus Iron Man. They're two genius billionaire superheroes who have their own companies, Wayne Enterprises and Stark Industries. They both also use their great wealth to create armor and technology, which helps them protect the world from various threats. Number six, Black Adam versus Doctor Doom. They are comic book supervillains with rival companies who have a powerful mix of magic and scientific weapons. Both rule over fictional countries where they're both feared and respected. They both temporarily became heroes in the past before returning to villainy and use lightning attacks, but have much more than just that. Number seven, Catwoman versus Black Cat. They're two black-suited Batman Spider-Man villains with a cat theme who are also forbidden lovers to them as well. Number eight, Cyborg versus Android 17 from Dragon Ball. They're teenagers who unwillingly were turned into cyborgs, however took advantage of their new powers and became heroes and members of a universe-protecting team. Number 9, Deathstroke versus Soldier Boy from The Boys. They're genetically enhanced anti-villain superhero soldiers, war veterans as well, who take down other superheroes. Both end up on opposite sides from their children, ultimately trying to kill them. Number 10, Doomsday versus SCP-682. They are movable object meets the immovable object. Number 11, Barry Allen Flash versus Sonic the Hedgehog. They are fiction's most iconic speedsters. Number 12, Green Arrow versus Claude from Fire Emblem. They're snarky archers. There's probably more to that, but I don't know. Number 13, Green Lantern Hal Jordan versus Future Drunks from Dragon Ball Xenoverse. They are two people who join a corp of fighters to protect the universe. Number 14, Harley Quinn versus JINX from League of Legends. They are both crazy, enthusiastic, colourful villains who cause chaos for fun, and also have a knack for liking explosions, but despite their insanity, they're both incredibly intelligent. Both were mentored into their current state by a crime boss who has mutated by chemicals. Both reflected their childhood trauma as well, and their physiology altered via chemicals as well too. Both have a relationship with a close friend and helped gain more power over their chaotic selves. They both also have rocket-powered pogo sticks as well. Next is number 15, the Hawkman versus Izor from Transformers. They're two female bird-themed characters who are reincarnated versions of past ancient villains who helped defeat the main protagonist, or helped defeated by the main protagonist. Number 16, Joker versus Green Goblin. They are batshit crazy Spider-Man and Batman villains. Number 17, Killer Frost versus Frost. I could use Sub-Zero for Killer Frost, and you know, it kind of vibes. Number 18, Martian Manhunter versus Piccolo. There are two super intelligent green aliens from Dragon Ball DC who become friends with Goku and Superman. Number 19, Lex Luthor versus Dr. Eggman. There are two rich geniuses who fight a blue alien main character with technology. Number 20, Lobo versus Wolverine, the regenerating assholes of Marvel and DC. Number 21, Nightwing versus Ken the Eagle. They lost parents at a young age, took in by rich people and become a young hero. They both grew up to be a bird-themed superhero, became leaders of their own prodigy hero team. Both have a romantic tension with a girl a part of said team, and also have like a winged hero motif as well. They also both eventually experience the death of their fathers once again in their lives, which really hit them in the feels. Also making them like being able to join an even bigger team eventually. Number 22, Raven versus Jean Grey. They are two extremely powerful bird-themed heroines who make their debut as part of a teenage super team. While kind-hearted, and they act aloof and uncaring for their emotions and keep their powers in check. They're both closely tied to something extremely dangerous red cosmic entity, being the Phoenix Force and Trigon. But whenever they both lose control, they fully give in to their evil side, and their body goes full red, engulfed with fire. And yeah, they're generally two of the strongest villains whenever they go evil. Number 23, Scorpion versus Darth Maul. They're two vengeance-driven men who are manipulated by Dark Lords and swore to get revenge on the men that wronged them. Number 24, Shazam versus Thor. They're Marvel and DC's Gods of Thunder. Number 25, Sinestro versus Terumi. They are yellow-clad villains powered by fear who started out working for a good organization, working under godlike divine beings, but the same of which would go on to hate by feeling of being limited to them. They would also then go on to betray the organizations they worked for and form a new one. They would help the long-time enemies and divine beings that oversaw them. They would move their souls to different people and use their vessels while their current bodies were gone. They would both eventually gain a powerful entity, which were fueled by fear and hatred. Also, their ideals contrast with Sinestro wanting to rule everything through domination and fear, basically dictatorship. Now, Terumi wants to free and destroy everything so they can be free from the feeling of oppression. They're also both complete opposites of their enemies as well. Number 26, Solomon Grundy versus Nemesis. They're both undead beings with extreme boosts in strength and durability. Both were created by unnatural means. Both have powerful regeneration abilities, being able to heal pieces or parts of themselves. Both were inspired by takes in the zombie archetype. Both of them have extreme stamina and endurance, not showing any signs of exhaustion. Both have intelligence to wield weapons and strategize, and both change their form thanks to certain triggers. Number 27, Superman versus Optimus Prime. Two alien heroes who yield the colours red and blue, who crash on planet Earth against their will after the destruction of their home planet, but ultimately accepted the Earth as their new home and battle to protect it. They have immense battle power, iron will, and a heart of gold, and will fight for great ideals. The ideals which they hold are the sheer raw embodiment of as well. They're titled after their last titles, being, The Last of the Primes and Last of Son of Krypton or House of El. Both have died and been resurrected multiple times, even been able to bring back the lives of their whole worlds as well. Both have arch enemies who, despite sharing similar goals to their heroes, attempt to achieve it through selfish and destructive matter, bringing them into conflict with the heroes. Our two heroes here have a rivalry with a god who has a true form beyond time and space, being Unicron and Darkseid. They both also receive power from a mighty source, and also, it vibes. It's two main characters from two massive series. I don't know what more you want. Number 28, Wonder Woman versus Sailor Moon. It's Goku versus Superman, but they're waifus. Number 29, Zatanna versus Scarlet Witch. There are two comic book heroines with powerful, the strongest magic in their respective universes, who have a unique type of magic which allows them to do almost anything. They're also two of the most powerful people among their respective superhero teams. Both belong to a race of super powerful individuals and are a part of a family with supernatural powers. They're also descendants of a long line of people with supernatural abilities as well. Number 30, Zod versus Frieza. They're space alien war tyrants who are the arch nemesis of Goku and Superman. Number 31, Supergirl versus She-Hulk. They're female Superman and Hulk. Number 32, Atrocitus versus Jiren. They are two alien powerhouses from two different franchises with a long history of losing their family and those that they loved, which resulted in them to drive for stronger and enact justice or get revenge on those that murdered their family or friends, and also clash in a fight to the death. They also get very angry and are red. Number 33, Grilly Grodd versus Mojo Jojo. They're psychic villain apes. Number 34, Deadshot versus Bullseye. They're evil marksmen from Marvel and DC. Number 35, Blue Beetle versus Geostellar. They're young kids who started off with normal lives but encountered an alien which would attach themselves to the hero and give them superpowers. They would also become friends with the alien that attached to them as well and use their powers to protect the world. Number 36, Poison Ivy versus Devourer. This Plant Woman versus Bug Woman. Number 37, Brainiac versus Ultron. They're two robotic villains, rulers, and Marvel and DC. Number 38, Bizarro vs SMG3. They're inverse doppelgangers of the main protagonists from their respective franchises, so they live in a world different from the protagonist's own. Number 39, Black Canary vs STRYN. They're Marvel DC women who scream. Number 40, Black Lightning vs Yoriichi from Bleach. They both grew up as talented individuals who exceeded expectations in every category. They were part of organizations with other powerful individuals meant to protect humans from otherworldly threats. After having such a successful backstory and ultimately living in a more calm and suburban life, they stayed missing in the action for a while. Despite their small plans, they were still renowned as powerful fighters with great power. Later on, they became teachers to a group of teens who needed their guidance and skills, basically coming back into the action as a whole. One specific student idolized them more than anything else and trained with the same set of skills they used, using even more similar abilities compared to them compared to everyone else. They specialise in electricity and advanced forms of it. While not fully recognised as a hero, these two are more seen as vigilantes, since they're not really specifically affiliated with heroic groups, but still do the right thing. It's also comics versus anime as well. Number 41, Black Manta versus the Redeemer. They are both characters from a long line of characters who take the mantle and have a personal connection to a character related to mythology. They both have an end goal of killing said characters, with men taking the mantle coming from similar backgrounds as well. They came from a broken place to a house of a criminally ill. They also both have been captured to work under a military as well. Both died or were thought to have been dead several times, only to come back stronger and to have even more powerful things at their disposal, tech, suits, you name it. Number 42, Captain Cold versus Ghiaccio. They're crazy Iceman and they're vibing. Number 43, Cheetah versus Catrad. They're space cat villains. Number 44, Darkseid versus Thanos. They're two comic book villains who are intergalactic warlords who possess godly levels of power. They also are members of cosmic races, seek objectives which allow them to end life on a universal scale. They both serve as two of the greatest foes and arch nemesis of two superhero teams. They're both also villains to their children, both biological and adopted. Number 45, Dr. Fate versus VEGITO. They are the fusion of two different entities, Goku, Vegeta, and Kent and Nabu. One of the entities was an orphan raised and taught how to fight by an old man from a race different from his, while the other was an arrogant elite who seems to care very little for humanity itself, but both show care for people in some moments. For this fusion to be possible, it's necessary to have an ancient divine artifact, being the Patara earrings and the golden helmet Fate. They're also both not the only ones who use it as well. This results in a fusion which can give them the powers of both a mortal and a god, although it is extremely arrogant, is extremely powerful. At number 46, Donatello versus Shuri. They're teenage animal-themed heroes who are technological geniuses who focus more fighting with their tech, unlike their siblings. But fight alongside them due to how powerful their technology can be, along with their martial arts and physical combat skills. Number 47, Enchantress versus Asa Mikita from Chainsaw Man. They're two normal girls who get possessed by an evil creature who can take over their body at any time. Number 48, Firestorm versus Dahibo. They're both in the wrong place at the wrong time, dying from imminent death. But instead of dying, they fuse with an older, wiser man who would become their voice of reason from now on, and who become who they are today. They go far beyond that as well, as they discover true divine origins in their fusion, and how to help their abilities reshape the universe. Number 49, Jon Stewart versus Mace Windu. They're high-ranking members of an intergalactic peacekeeper group who are no-nonsense hard-asses on the outside, were shown to have a sassy, snarky, caring insides underneath. They're both also depicted as the second in command in their respective organisations as well. Number 50, Grid versus Mainframe. They're evil technology that emulates another hero. Number 51, Hellboy versus Nero. They both get daddy issues with a demon father who ruled over hell at one point with a human mother. Their right arms are also demonically powerful enough to bringing the world to the brink of destruction as well. At one point, they rejected their demon halves and to point their stunted powers, but ended up accepting them as well, having attained and ascended devil forms. They also will have an affinity for using revolvers and swords, which are used to kill demons. Number 52, Leonardo versus Poe. They're two fighters who make quirky one-liners and are really goofy at times. They're both also members of a group. Both have been adopted by emotionally by someone who became like a father to them, after being killed, or after their parents were killed. Both also achieved new energy-like powers in them. Both became unexpected leaders, given the fact they were not worthy, but then developed into becoming one. They're also the former leaders were, tough martial artists associated with the color red. They're both also from Nickelodeon and are teased for the next story in Netflix, and also plan to come out the same year. Number 53, Michelangelo versus Jay. They're both teenage, fun-loving warriors who are very gluttonous but are ultimately good people. With great warriors alongside them, it can be very naive at times. They're both known as tricksters and rule breakers, both have association with the colour yellow or orange. They both use very similar weapons that are peculiar when compared to others. They're also were part of a group that had connections to criminals. They're also both associated with green. They met a blue, more serious sword fighter, and a red character who gets angered by their shenanigans, who use dual-wielded weapons as well. They both have a center inspiration / mentor they try and live up to. They're also part of the reason as to why they became warriors as well. Both of their mentors quote-unquote died because of blades, and their origins have connections to spatial otherworldly sources. Number 54, Mr. Freeze versus Nameless. They are two tragic villains who go through drastic deeds to fulfill their goals, bringing a beloved one who once more back to life as well. Whose presence basically acted as a small beacon in their miserable lives, and generally vibes. Number 55, Power Girl versus Kefla. They're two heroines from an alternate universe. They're technically fusions, with Kefla being a fusion of Caulifla and Kale, while Power Girl has been retconned as an Atlantean and a Kryptonian. They're both also aggressive compared to their counterparts, and it's a Saiyan versus a Kryptonian matchup. What more could you want? Number 56, Raiden versus Thunderus from Pokemon. They're video game thunder deities. Number 57, Raphael versus Bakugo. They're hot-headed comic originating teenage crime-fighting heroes, a part of larger groups, whose main powers come from mutations from their body, facing a wide variety of villains who typically get their powers through genetic mutations as well. Of the bunch, they are typically the deuteragonist of the series, with an inferiority complex towards the main character, due to the relationship, while also growing within their childhood as well. While the primary thing that fuels them is anger, they're also got a rival figure who's trained by, and formerly by, an ordinary person, before given some kind of mutation to give him power of some kind. They both had a past relationship with the primary antagonist. They both share familial issues stemming from both their blood family and their non-blood family, as well as their brother figures, and parental figures as well. Despite their hot-headedness and impulsive personalities, they care deeply for their friends and family, but constantly refuse to admit it, instead giving them empty threats that they never end up fulfilling. The two are arrogant at all times, but are brilliant in the heat of battle, showing strategy skill that not many would expect from them. And finally, despite the two being hotheads, the two are far more in-depth and go through arcs about their inferiority complexes than they would seem at first glance. Number 58, Red Hood versus Reaper. They're both masked gunslinging American killers. I don't know why I pronounced American like that. From popular franchises that feature a variety of heroes and villains. They both go through different names, but prefer to go by their aliases. They're both heroes that fought for peace and justice until the unfortunate event which led to them becoming a murderous villain / anti-hero. And both pursue former partners as they blame from them as to what happened in the past. They also both have anger issues and have trouble controlling their rage because of their past. Number 59, Reverse Flash vs Goku Black. They're both evil versions of a main character who come from a future and can time travel. There's also more to it than that, but I like it. Number 60, Scarecrow vs Mysterio. They're Batman, Spider-Man villains who use illusions. Number 61, Starfire versus Blaze the Cat. They're purple-clad princesses who come from a different planet, which also makes them aliens. The reason they left their home world was because of a villain threatening to destroy their worlds. Their names also have something to do with fire. They also have similar abilities with heat and fire manipulation, flight, energy protection, super speed, etc. Both of them also use different types of solar energy as power, and they both fight against world-conquering threats to save both their world and their newfound friends' world. Number 62, Sub-Zero versus Aoi Yagami. They're fighting game rivals due to being the main poster boys for their both franchises, and happen to be a Japanese dude from a warrior clan. They also possess special powers thanks to their heritage. Both of their clans also worked for an evil god who were sealed away long ago using ancient artifacts. But would go on to do the thing that both were given forms to do by controlling bad guys. I don't know if I pronounced that right, or rather explained it correctly, but here we are. Number 63, Swamp Thing versus Man-Thing. They both have the same origins. Number 64, they're Atom versus Ant-Man. They're both comic book superheroes who are geniuses who can shrink to subatomic sizes. There's more to it than that again, but I can't be bothered, that's the general gist. Number 65, Jay Garrick versus Classic Sonic. They are both the original versions of the Flash and Sonic, who are canonically different characters from them. And finally, number 66, Vixen versus Jake. They're humans who are gifted with the ability to harness powers of any animal in all existence. If you enjoyed this video despite my stuttering, then make sure to like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.